Welcome to the ship that got sued.
In 1840, an English admiralty court named a ship as the defendant in a lawsuit. The vessel itself was treated as a legal person and held directly accountable for debts its owners had never authorized and essentially knew nothing about. This radical approach of holding a ship accountable was, in fact, entirely practical. Ships in the age of sail were forced to act as autonomous economic actors, given there was simply no way to communicate with their owners once at high seas. A captain could spend months sailing, buying provisions, hiring crew, entering contracts, and accumulating obligations, all far beyond the knowledge or control of the ship owner back home. Communication took months. Effective oversight was practically impossible, and yet commerce still had to continue. So the court invented a necessary fiction, treating a ship as a person, an entity that could be sued, arrested, or seized, and by doing so, it resolved a problem that had blocked global trade for centuries. How do you hold an autonomous agent accountable when its actions are beyond its principles' reach? If it sounds bizarre, then consider that the legal treatment of corporations followed a remarkably similar arc. Medieval jurists recognized that groups of people acting collectively needed a legal identity separate from any individual member, and by the Renaissance, churches and universities, chartered by governments, could own property, enter contracts, and be sued independently of the people inside them. Limited liability, which took another 3 centuries to fully mature, completed the architecture by allowing investors to routinely fund ventures without personally overseeing them, because the entity itself bore the obligations and ownership, and accountability had been formally separated. Whether it was ships sailing the high seas or the formation of corporations, the sequence was identical. A new class of economic actor emerged that operated faster and further than existing accountability structures could handle, and every time the law eventually caught up by inventing new forms of legal personhood that allowed autonomy and accountability to coexist. History is littered with these moments where technological progress outpaces the legal framework, uncertainty reigns for a while, and then someone invents a new category of responsibility and the economy expands again. That very sequence is in full swing right now as legislators are scrambling to create clarity around crypto and blockchain. But our story is bigger. It's bigger than crypto and much bigger than blockchain. Setting the scene, we need to dive into the strange economics of intelligence. When OpenAI launched GPT-4 in March 23, Frontier Intelligence cost roughly $30 per million input tokens. Yet, just 2 years later, GPT-5 Nano offered comparable baseline performance at 5 cents per million input tokens, representing a roughly 600-fold reduction in cost. The frontier models themselves are following along the same curve, as GPT-5 currently runs at $1.25 per million tokens, a 24-fold drop from GPT-4's launch price, and nothing suggests that these trajectories are flattening. To understand what these numbers actually mean, consider that the average person speaks roughly 10 million tokens per year, which means that at budget model pricing, replicating an entire year of human linguistic output in AI inference already costs about 50 cents. Scale up to 100 million tokens, which gets you closer to the volume of a person's total cognitive activity across a full year, including every internal thought, every deliberation, every decision, and you land at around $5 for a year of the human equivalent cognition. Think about that again. Every thought you will have this year, every decision, every conversation, every plan, every doubt, all of it for less than the cost of parking your car for an hour in the heart of Amsterdam. For most of recorded history, intelligence was the scarcest resource in the economy, with empires rising and falling depending on how many capable minds they could organize. The corporation itself exists largely as a machine for coordinating limited human cognition towards a shared objective. Many fail to grasp the significance of competent thinking at a price point that makes it virtually disposable. That is simply because the prevailing opinion is that AI is unreliable, that it hallucinates, makes confident errors, and feels more like a clever toy than serious economic infrastructure. This perception confuses the intelligence with the packaging, as what the public interacts with is single models responding to a single prompt, a chatbot, and under those restrictive conditions, the limitations are obvious. Strip away the chatbot, and the picture changes considerably because the frontier models already pass bar exams, medical licensing tests, and advanced programming benchmarks, and they rank among the top forecasters in the world. Measured against conventional cognitive benchmarks, these systems perform at or above human expert level across a surprisingly wide range of domains. What they lack is not intelligence, but rather orchestration. A model answering a single prompt is raw capability sitting idle, and this is precisely the gap that a rapidly emerging class of so-called AI agents is filling. Systems like Claude Code, Manus, and a growing number of others take the same underlying intelligence and wrap it in an operational framework with goals, persistent memory, access to external tools, and the ability to decompose complex tasks, verify their own output, and iterate until the work is actually done. Rather than waiting for a human to type the next question, these systems are operating with increasing autonomy and have something that begins to resemble initiative by pursuing objectives across multiple steps and adapting when things go wrong. Think of it as the difference between asking Einstein to calculate your tax return and giving him a research team, funding, and a decade to rethink the nature of time itself. Once intelligence is provided with the framework and resources to reliably execute work rather than merely answer questions, it stops acting like software and starts behaving like an economic actor, and that is where the numbers become staggering. Imad Mustak, the original founder of Stable Vision, has been tracking these trajectories more carefully than most. And he estimates that within 5 years, autonomous agents will drive more economic activity than humans. This perhaps sounds dramatic, but that is only until you do the arithmetic. A human decision maker executes perhaps 10 decisions per day, while a single AI agent might execute 10,000. And when you multiply by a few million agents, you're already looking at a volume of economic activity that dwarfs anything in human history. The infrastructure question this raises is usually framed in terms of speed and throughput, asking whether payment rails can handle the volume and whether settlement can keep up. But those are the wrong questions. The real question is the one the admiralty court faced 2 centuries ago. What happens when autonomous economic actors make decisions faster than the system designed to hold them accountable? Clearly, there is an accountability gap that needs to be addressed. When an AI agent buys data that turns out to be stolen, who answers? When an agent enters a contract that violates sanctions, who is liable? When an agent executes a trade in a jurisdiction where that transaction is prohibited, where does the legal responsibility land? Today, there is no answer, and without one, the agentic economy stays confined to sandboxes, toy demos, and unregulated experiments, much like crypto itself spent years on the margins until regulatory clarity began turning headwinds into tailwinds. For the agentic economy, the stakes are even higher. The moment agents touch regulated commerce, whether finance, insurance, healthcare, cross-border trade, or government procurement, accountability becomes the gatekeeper. These sectors represent the majority of global economic activity, and every transaction within them must ultimately be traceable to a responsible legal entity without exception. We have solved capability and we're solving cost at breathtaking speed, but accountability remains wide open, and it is accountability far more than speed or intelligence that will determine whether the agentic economy operates inside the real economy or forever alongside it. We must build legal and governance structures for the agentic economy. History suggests how this resolves. When ships outran their owner's ability to supervise them, the law invented legal personhood for vessels. And when corporations outgrew any individual's capacity to oversee them, the law invented limited liability. Each time, a framework emerged that preserved autonomy while creating traceable accountability after the fact. The agentic economy will require something similar, and whatever system underlies accountability for autonomous agents will need specific properties. That is, verifiable identity that can be selectively disclosed, direct settlement without custodial intermediaries, predictable fees at volumes suited to machines rather than humans, and a traceable link between every autonomous action and a responsible legal entity. Most of the financial infrastructure currently proposed for AI agents was built on the crypto mindset of privacy via anonymity. But anonymous infrastructure carries no built-in link between a transaction and a responsible entity, and at the volume and speed at which agents will operate, that missing link goes from being a manageable issue to a structural problem with unlimited downside. A small number of blockchain architectures were built with a different set of assumptions, anticipating the need for privacy and accountability to coexist rather than compete. On Concordium, agents transact between identities verified at the protocol level but disclosed only under defined legal conditions in stablecoins with full self-custody and built-in accountability. They prove compliance without exposing identity and never touch smart contracts. Fees are low, fiat-pegged, and covered by sponsored transactions. These were design choices made for compliance reasons years before the agentic economy arose, and they are what led Coinbase to partner with Concordium for X402 agentic payment integration. The historical pattern is clear. The economy builds the actors first, and the accountability frameworks follow. The ships came first, and the law that made them persons came later. The agents are arriving now, and as the legal and regulatory frameworks catch up, the blockchains that already have accountability in their architecture will be the ones that thrive.